The Bulldogs have come from the clouds to time their premiership run to perfection with a thumping win at the SCG, adding the Swans to their recent top four collection. An ugly loss to the Saints made tormented Bombers fans want to bath, and what better way to lament a wasted season than to yeet your premiership scarf. The Hawks got another dub. Tyson Stengel went to the pub, and Pendles joins the 400 club to look towards the final 4 home and away rounds this season. This is Triple M Footy's midweek rub with gold medalist in the short kick in, then wraparound handball Lee Montagna.
I like it.
Yeah, it's good.
Really? Rabs, that's where we're going?
Gold medalist.
Go with it, Joey. It was
in
good.
slamming it on your boot, sticking your hand in the air and running to the members, Daisy Thomas.
Yes, that's more like it.
And the gold medalist in the lazy Sunday. Now the footy show isn't on for 2 weeks, Damian Barrett.
I copped the nicest one out of all that.
You did.
That was good, Rabsy. You were hitting the final 4 rounds of the season hard.
It must be the early start. We've just had a coffee here at 9:15. It must be. I'm up and about.
One coffee.
Oh,
Well,
no, yeah.
it's a little coffee. It's a little piccolo, I noticed.
Yeah, it is. Just a little one.
I do love the fact, though, the Oracle stays with me.
Yeah.
You had a play into
That
my
was-
space last week.
That was never in doubt, though.
What about that,
What were you
by the
doing?
way? We do tips every single week and we tip a roughie. I just throw North Melbourne out there. The boys in social media decide to make it a tile, so people think I've made this biggest grand statement in the world. I've got Geelong supporters. Oh, how about you eat that one? And I'm like, come on, everyone. I did throw it out there, North Melbourne. It didn't work,
You
but
did
for a
want-
little bit there, it looked like it was going okay.
No,
First
it
10
didn't.
minutes.
No, it was-
First 10 minutes, 3 goals to zip.
Yeah, when Aiden Core fell over the goal line and Dempsey got
that's
the
right,
ball.
yeah.
That was the writing on the wall.
And that wasn't my fault that Clarko forgot Tom Stewart was a good player. Like, if he had just done something about Tom Stewart, maybe my prediction would have looked a bit better.
No, you wanted the Oracle status. It's
Yeah, I
Daisy's mantle,
Yeah.
and you wanted it.
He can keep it. He can
Damo,
keep
it is
it.
a big week in the AFL, though, for one of Daisy's former teammates here. Scott
Yeah.
Pendlebury plays game 400.
He
Yeah, he
certainly
does.
does. Incredible. It's an unbelievable achievement for a bloke who's been at the peak of his powers for such an extended period of time. You have to tip your cap because it's hard to get there for a short period of time, and it's probably easier once you're there to stay there for the short period. But it's the longevity that becomes the impressive part because the sacrifices you have to make are of the highest nature, and it's incredible to see 400 games and still going strong.
You got a bit serious there, didn't you?
Well,
We normally don't get
look,
serious on
No,
this show
I don't usually
early.
get serious, but I feel that 400 for a bloke who has dedicated his entire life to playing unbelievable football, not to say that others don't, but to the level he's doing it, he was still one of the best players to three-quarter time on the weekend when he got subbed out. It is a marvel and probably lucky at some point to look back and say we played with him.
You started your career with him on the very same day.
We did.
You were picked 2. He was picked
Yep.
5 in that 2005 draft, and he's.
Is that a low? Why are you bastards
It's just
laughing?
funny when you say it like that. He's still going 400 games. So,
our man's forging a media
I know.
career.
Mate,
and
If
a
I was
high-end one,
blessed
too.
with no speed, not the ability to take hangers that you blow your shoulders and knees out and ankles out, I'll plot a Pendles. He learned different ways to be good.
And you wouldn't let him into the Rat Pack?
No, and for good reason.
I don't think he wanted to be in there.
No,
but-
he didn't, and maybe I should have followed his path for longevity, but we also had a lot more fun. So
Yeah, and the writing was in the early days, Joey. I was still at the Herald Sun when these two were drafted, and in those days, you'd get a journo to go to the community camps that you guys had as a footy club. And I think it was in Terrigal days.
Yeah, first one.
I interviewed both of them as the gun recruits, pick 2 and pick 5, and I did Daisy one day, and the next day I'd teed up Scott. And then all I can remember from that interview still to this day was standing in the goal square of this ground at Cherrygold. No one else around us, but these balls were being pinged at our head from 50 to 60 metres away. Big torpies, this idiot next to me, trying to drill us from as far away as he could and getting close to killing us. So,
Just as an 18-year-old.
As an 18-year-old.
Just your relationship with the journos.
just popping torps from anywhere. Not my fault. I'm trying to do goal kicking at the end of training. You're
No, you
doing an
weren't.
interview in the goal
you're
square.
trying to maim one of us. I think
That's
you're trying to get me more than him.
In the famous days when Strawny was a superstar, he came
Yeah.
on one of the community camps, and I was sort of his little protege that he, for the story, had gone under his wing, and I did that from 60. He had a torp that just smashed him in the head. Brilliant for tally. Pete was flat as a Shikata's hat.
Well, you just missed me anyway.
Well, that is a huge game on Saturday night. In the context of the top 8 now as well, Carlton versus Collingwood. We will get your tips later on, plus fair dinkum or Fugazi. But up next, Damo, it is your news. We're going to chat the Brisbane Resurgence and Nat Fyfe at the Tribunal as well. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Fair Dinkum or Fugazi still to come. Plus, your game predictions for round 21, kicking off with a Freed from Desire Cup. Bulldogs versus Melbourne from Marvel Stadium. But let's get some news from you, Damo, and let's start with a resurgence from the Brisbane Lions.
It's been extraordinary, hasn't it? As a lot of clubs in the past 4 to 6 weeks have sputtered their way through that period and heading into finals and maybe out of finals contention, we've seen the Brisbane Lions surge. 8 wins in a row, off a 3-win, 5-loss start to the year. They've done it through some serious adversity. The most recent aspect of that was not having a back line against the Gold Coast Suns on the weekend just gone. Andrews, Payne, Joyce all out, and prior to that, Gardner, Coleman and Duday already ruled out long term. So a really meritorious win on the weekend. They're as well placed as anyone, and they do have that hurt of a 4-point grand final loss still at play.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that the back-end form, if we go off what happened last year as well with the Giants and the Blues, is probably the best way to come into a final series rather than the sustained form over the season. So they've given themselves a red-hot chance, 8-0 since the bye. We knew they had talent. We knew and expected they'd turn it around. But to the level they have under some of the adversity has been brilliant to watch.
Well, it's their 6th crack at it, at having a crack at winning a flag. They've been up for so long, and this is a different way to do it. So maybe this way might work because for a lot of them, they've been sitting top 4. They've been one of the real genuine chances, and they haven't quite got it done. But I think this approach of coming as the underdog for a while and just sort of sneaking under the radar, no pressure on their shoulders, maybe it's suiting them. And I think, as you said, once you get your tail up and you get momentum, as we've seen with a few teams in the competition, it's very hard to stop.
We've seen some good forwards go back as defenders. Eric Hipwood, probably not one of those.
Didn't quite work to the Roy Lobb
really
levels. Didn't quite work
But
to the Roy
overly
Lobb
natural. He went okay.
But to his credit, he embraced the
Had a
task.
go. Yeah.
And he responded to what was a hard first quarter for him. And he was assisted, wasn't he, with Ben King not being accurate in front of goal. So you factor all that in, but he embraced the challenge.
Yep.
And Chris Fagan, as we learned after the game, had put it on him relatively early in the week. This is going to happen. It's this mantra they've got. Just go and do it. And I think that type of attitude has been part of what has got them to this point. They've still got a long way to go. They need to get a flag because they've been good enough to win one. As you say, Joey, 6 years in a row of potential high-end finals, either finishes or latter positions to begin the finals. And I think as key part of anything that they're doing is the Cam Rayner form.
Yep.
The 5-6 weeks that he's had, the good parts of the season he had earlier to that. It's taken him a while. 2017 was his first year, but he's looking the goods, and he's a point of difference now.
Yeah, it's his best year by a mile. He's got some consistency in his game, and it's a great reminder that not every first early draft pick comes in like Harry Sheasel and Nick Dacos. Some of them take a bit more time. Some of them have to find exactly what they do well at AFL level, and it's why we've got to be a bit more patient sometimes with some of these high-talented youngsters. But, yeah, certainly he's having a sensational patch of footy and big reason for the rise.
He's found his right role in that good team at the moment. It's different to what he's done. So, too, is Nat Fyfe, a very different Nat Fyfe in 2024 to the 2-time Brownlow medal-winning Nat Fyfe. But equally importantly, now, as we knew, was pinged by the match review office for a hit off the ball on Jai Cully on the weekend. He took that through the tribunal system last night. Unsuccessful. I was surprised he took it on. I thought it was always going to be a week. Equally, it's not the worst thing, Days, for someone of his age and stage, I think, to get a week off at this late stage of a tough home and away season.
That's certainly finding the glass half full, as you'd probably say, Joey. But look, you're right. For somebody who has not been beaten up, but beaten up for the entirety of his career, to come in fresh, Freo look like they'll probably cement themselves in a top 4 chance, get themselves a couple of home finals too. So for him to be fresh, to not have to travel and take on that soreness probably until grand final day, if they are good enough to get there, I think it's probably a bonus for them.
Do you like what he's done this year?
It's been terrific. Yeah, it has. It's been complimentary. I mean, everyone sort of still thinks of Nat Fyfe at Nat Fyfe levels.
Yeah.
He's played an important role as the big body. He's a handballer, but he's a contest and clearance winner, and he's allowed the other guys to function and do really well. And I'm with you. I don't think a rest this week will hurt him. He gets 3 more games before another bye, and then he's going to have not a big finals performance, but step up, and they've got other players that can play in his role.
And the adjustment that he's been able to wade through and work through, it wasn't working last year. It wasn't working even early this year, but he's obviously been smart enough to work it out.
Of course, he wants to play in a premiership. He's been there the whole time to win that first flag for Fremantle, and he'll do whatever it takes. And it took him a while to get his head around that he was no longer the number 1 banana.
Yes.
And he went to the number 2, the number 3. Now he's probably
4
the number
or
4 or 5. But I think he's embraced it now. He's realised, hey, I don't need to be the man anymore. Yeah. And I think in some ways it's a nice relief, and he can just compliment the boys that are dominating.
Damo, we saw in the Herald Sun yesterday that Collingwood is being sued by its former head of First Nations strategy, according to documents filed in the Federal Circuit and Family Court.
Yeah, serious allegations, and they're levelled directly at Craig Kelly, the CEO of the footy club. There's a date of August 27 for this to have a hearing, and we'll see how it plays out legally in that space. What we were able to ascertain yesterday was that the unfair dismissal or the dismissal of Mark Cleaver, the First Nations strategist at the club, and he was employed on the back of the findings and the need to, I suppose, take heed of what was in the Do Better report at Collingwood. That's all part of it. It was an issue. It was raised with the Collingwood Football Club by way of the complaints, and they dealt with it internally and effectively, and I'm saying effectively because it's a bit more complicated than that, dismissed what was being said in that and moved on. It was also raised with the police, and I'll let the police, I suppose, publicly outline what they did with it. It was also raised with the AFL. They referred it back to Collingwood. I raise all of that is we need to get all sides of all stories before we make sweeping statements publicly. The club itself last night defended what it had done to this point in time and said it would defend the matter in court.
Which is on August 27. So until then, we probably can't have opinions or anything else.
I think so. I think we've learned, haven't we, from the Hawthorn situation, even the Melbourne doctor and the president. Some, like, if allegations get thrown out there, we've sort of always two sides to the story. So that's why it is very hard to make any comment.
They are serious allegations, and they need to have a resolution through the courts now.
Any update on the West Coast coach search, Damo?
Update is just interesting in that we've had two of the prime candidates in Dean Cox. This is all in the past fortnight now, and also Josh Carr, very adamant last week, pre-match on Triple M Friday night before he, as an assistant coach of Port Adelaide, beat Carlton. Just ruled himself out as well. It's left the other people who were favoured initially. Brent Montgomery's a name who's prominent on it. Ash Hansen, a West Coast connected person. Someone, Days, I know who you think a lot of for his time in the system as an assistant coach at the Bulldogs and now at Carlton.
Yeah, and it's probably speaks volumes of the succession plans that both Sydney and Port Adelaide have, with the two coaches not wanting to leave for other opportunity. I think, whether that's openly spoken about externally, no doubt it's spoken about internally, but Ash Hansen, a great candidate from all the boys I speak to at Carlton, say his knowledge of the game, strategy, but also player management, which has become a big piece of the modern game and the modern player. And they speak so highly of him. Another one, Scott Selwood, who was at the West Coast Eagles as well. I know that there's interest in and around what he is bringing under that Craig McRae model now, that probably is going to be the ongoing model, a bit like it was there for so long with Alistair Clarkson.
It's very rare, sorry, Damon, that we see a club pull out a coach that's already coaching another team to get them across. I mean, Fremantle were able to do it with Ross Lyon, and that was a bit of a situation. But we rarely see it, do we, where a club...
Gold Coast.
I mean, everyone says they've got the hit list.
Hardwick out of
yes,
Richmond.
they did. There you go.
Although, if you believe the timeline, he was burnt out and retired after with 18 months still to run on a contract, and then he was not burnt out 100 days later. But I'm a bit sceptical and cynical about that one for obvious reasons. Jamie Graham's another one, too, guys, who has got a West Coast connection in the past, and someone who I'd be staggered if he isn't in the pointy-ended nature of the initial approaches.
Well, West Coast are one of two Friday night games this weekend, and we'll get your predictions soon. But up next, it's fair dinkum or Fugazi on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Tracksuit Lee Montagna. The Sydney loss has been coming, and alarm bells must be ringing loud and clear.
Yeah, that's fair dinkum. I mean, certainly they are absolutely still in the mix, and they'll play in a home prelim, so they're in the box seat, you'd think. But certainly they're not at the levels they were a month ago when they were head and shoulders above every other team. It's not just the losses. It's a bit more about the profile and the way they've getting beaten. Their clearance game, their pressure game, and the turnover game, all big elements of winning, have just dropped away in the last 6 weeks.
I think the smacking's probably a good thing for them, because the 2.1 point loss, you look at it and go, is it that bad? Yeah, we had our chances. We didn't play that well. When you get torn apart, systematically taken down, you have to have the magnifying glass out and have a good hard look at what's going wrong.
James Rowbottom's a big loss for them.
He is actually underrated loss. Good call. So is McInerney too, for what he provides with his run.
Daisy, Hawthorn are a genuine flag threat if they make finals.
Yeah, that's fair dinkum. I think you could happily, and you wouldn't want to if you were coming up against them. They are scary good in belief. I don't think in terms of unbelievable talent, but at the minute, as we've seen in the past couple of years, if its side gets on a run, and with those little Can we call them smart asses? The kids down there who are just enjoying themselves and having a great deal of fun. It's a scary prospect. Kids with hope and high expectation, they're doing great things. And we've all said it. I think they're everyone's second favourite team at the moment.
Now, Damo, I didn't write this. Rudy wrote this. Scott Pendlebury playing 400 games is a bigger achievement. He's as big achievement, I should say, as Buddy's 1,000 goals.
Fugazi. No, although there's only 6 of both, aren't there? When Scott Pendlebury joins this club, there's only 6, as there are only 6 with the 1,000. I just feel the goals mark is more unreachable than ever, and there's no 100 goals a season kickers since 2008 when Buddy last did it, and prior to that it was 2004, and that's 100 goals in a season, 1,000 in the career. Look, even if Tom Hawkins is going to fall significantly short, so Fugazi.
Yeah, well, more players will play 400 games. I'm not sure we're going to see the next time 1,000 goal kicker is going to take a long, long time. So, good call.
Joey, Ollie Dempsey is now outright leader for the Rising Star.
Oh, fair dinkum. I think he's just got his nose ahead of Georgie Wardlaw. So, outright, well, he will be the outright, but it's still very close, but I think Dempsey now is the slight favourite.
Daisy, the Bulldogs' defence is the major reason they're in flag contention.
Yeah, again, that's fair dinkum. Defence wins you finals and wins you grand finals. The turnaround in form of Rory Lobb, and we sort of still, I think, as an industry, having a little chuckle about it, and the fact that, you know, it's working so well, and is he the difference? What you have to take on trust is that football side now looks so much more even and complete with him down there alongside Bukul Khamis and also Liam Jones. They look as steady and as stable across all lines as I think I've ever seen them, and it's impressive to watch. So, yeah, fair income to that.
Damo, Cam Zurhaar staying at North Melbourne is good for footy.
Fair income. Yeah, he's managed for the second time in his life to string out an out-of-contract season and make sure he got what he wanted on the bottom line. He deserves that, but let's see him now be part of this North Melbourne resurgence into a season that has more than 2 wins to its name after 19 matches.
Come on, Damo, you win the next 2. Celebrate it.
Well, it's no given, mate. It's like I keep saying, they've won 2 matches again.
Joey, Carlton's depth is holding them back from a flag tilt.
Fair dinkum. I think that's right. I think it's up to these peripheral players to play their very best footy and find some more consistency. They're still around the mark. It's just more the defensive elements for me. Their ability to defend. One-on-one's letting them down. Yeah, they need to lift.
Damo, if Melbourne fans want to shake the stereotype of heading to the snow to ski every year, they might want to start turning up to games in July.
Fair income. What was it, 16,000?
16,000.
Yeah, well,
and that was
GWS.
Seemed a bit heavy.
We're not even sure on that number. No, it didn't feel that watching it on TV. Look, they've clearly dropped off. They don't like what they're seeing. It's not the first time it's happened. And, look, they're out of contention too, so I can't see why they'd want to return en masse.
Joey, percentage doesn't lie. Essendon's results are just normalising, and they have always been this team.
That's fair income. They've always been just a good average team. That's right. They are where they are on the ladder. They're missing the key elements to be a real contender.
Which are what?
The edge.
They told us they had that.
Yeah, I think that was their desire. That's what they would like to have been known as, and I think they've still got some work to do and got to go back to the drawing board.
For a side that's in 10th to have percentage only better than West Coast, Richmond and North Melbourne probably says enough.
All that being said, Daisy, I'd still rather support Essendon than swim in the River Seine.
Yeah, that's fair income. Both at times are shit. No, I'd still take my Essendon scarf over a swim in Le Poupou.
Joey, with the Rising Star, goal of the year, a best and fairest, an all-Australian blazer, 3 Ross Glendenning medals already under his belt, Caleb Serong is building a Freo CV every bit as good as Nat Fyfe and Matt Pavlich.
Early stages, early call, good call. Needs a couple of Brownlows. If he gets a premiership, well, then he would climb above them, and he'll captain the club at one stage as well. And yeah, he's on track to be one of the greatest ever dockers. That is fair income.
He could win the Brownlow this year.
He could, yeah.
It's a good 99 games he's got behind him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Special player.
Damo, the AFL should schedule 4 Western derbies this season because the MRO fines alone will pay for the roof in Tassie.
I like that. I'll say Fugazi officially, but I like where you're going.
All right, Daisy, I'm going to play you a little bit of audio here.
We're going to head to the equestrian. Breaking news in regards to the Australian team with all the latest on this. It's over to Matthew Pavlich.
Well, just some devastating news out here at Chateau du Versailles.
Fair dinkum or Fugazi, when you think of Olympic equestrian, you think of Matthew Pavlich.
Fugazi. And I'm not sure you think of him fluently in French either. At the Chateau
He was
du
really
Versailles.
thinking about that, wasn't he?
And as a bloke from Drawn, I can probably call him out on that because I butcher that at the best of times. But Shervo doing the horses is like Tubby Taylor.
Pavlich doing the horses, yeah.
Pav, sorry. He's like Tubby Taylor doing the diving.
It's a bit strange, isn't it?
It's weird.
Finally, Joey, with material like this, Razor Ray has a long career in sporties ahead of him post-retirement.
Best sledge from a spectator.
I came from Collingwood when they yelled out to me, "There is no doubt, Razor, the dingo took the wrong Chamberlain."
Beautiful. Very good, Razor. As I've said, whether you like him or not, I think he is a talent. I would like to see him do some media.
He would have made that up, wouldn't he?
Probably. That's part of it.
Yeah,
No,
it's part of what
we
you
all
say.
make stuff up, Damo. Don't give it away. That's part of it. No, I would like to see Razor involved in football. I think that he does have plenty to offer. I know Daisy's shaking his head.
No, I just more at the gag.
gag, yeah.
It's risky areas.
That was too clever for a
Yes.
Collingwood
Yeah.
supporter.
He hates
He
Collingwood.
does.
I was a Collingwood
He does.
supporter. I was a
He hates
Collingwood supporter as a
so
kid.
much.
Nah, it's
You
weird.
have
That might
heard
have been me
officially
when I was a Collingwood
now
supporter.
that Joey hates Collingwood.
Fair dinkum or Fugazi, Rabsy. Joey hates Collingwood.
That's fair
Yeah, it
dinkum.
is.
That's
That's
fair
confirmation.
dinkum.
Still salty from 2010.
It's that little wraparound handball. Round 21 game predictions coming up next. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Head to BWS, get your drinks for this week's games and lock it onto Triple M because we are broadcasting every single match of round 21, Joey, kicking off with the Bulldogs versus Melbourne. Huge game. They do not like each other.
They don't, you're right, and it's hard to tip against the Western Bulldogs. As Daisy mentioned before, the form they are in, the way they are playing, they are building nicely, and I find it very hard for Melbourne to beat them on Friday night.
Yeah, same way I'm approaching this too. There's no reason to tip against the Bulldogs, but we've known that there are curveballs coming and will come between now and close of play. Melbourne could easily beat the Bulldogs. I just don't think they can this Friday night.
I appreciate all the Western Bulldogs fans reaching out to thank me as well. The motivation I've given them is the single reason they've turned this around.
Rory Lobb and Dale Thomas are the two biggest reasons for the Dogs' revival.
And that was always going to be a headline at some point. The Bulldogs for me. You like your stats, Joey. They're the first side since the Cats in 1993 to play 3 games in a row versus sides in the top 3 and win all 3.
And just before they went on that raging piece of form, you said?
They had a 47-point loss to Port Adelaide.
And
And
you
I said,
put
grab
a
your
black
Sharpies, Bulldogs fan, draw a line, you can go on holidays early.
And Bevo called you out on it.
He did. And then I retracted, which was smart because I could have doubled down against the
You remember
Swans.
Damo said keep owning it, and you said, no, I'm allowed to say I'm wrong.
Well played. Thank you.
Damo, West Coast versus Gold Coast, the other Friday night game in round 21.
Yeah, well, the two teams that North Melbourne has beaten, actually. So on that line of thinking they're a chance. Again, I'm not at all a fan of the Gold Coast, but I've got no reason to tip the West Coast in any match of football, so Gold Coast.
You are so harsh on the Gold Coast,
You are.
Damo. I think they are building something. I think it's been a good year. They are still very young, this team, and I like the way Damien Hardwick's got it. Yes, they've been...
Hey, listen, they themselves put it out there. They want to make finals.
I
That
know,
was the
but every
flaw.
team wants to make finals. What do you want them to say? Oh, we'll just see how we go. I didn't mind it. They'll get there eventually. It won't be this year.
Oh,
This
yeah.
will be their first...
It's never this year. Whatever it is, insert the year. It's never this year. It's always next
I'm
year.
tipping the next year Gold Coast. That's what they're called now. The next year Gold Coast Suns to win this one. Finally win away from home.
Yeah, I'm just purely going, they need to get a win at some stage, and what better opportunity with zero confidence, so.
I'm going to stick with you because of this game, Damo, and you are on fire this morning. North Melbourne versus Richmond. Marvel Stadium, 1:45 Saturday.
Morals.
Richmond,
Come
do
on,
they want to win?
North
mate?
Melbourne.
Yes.
Look how reluctantly he said that.
I can't believe I said that.
We went down this last year with
Yeah.
North Melbourne taking on Gold Coast, and do they gain anything from winning? Do Richmond gain anything from trying to win this game?
Oh, well, you've got a coach who has had 2 wins only, as he knew Adamusa.
I think you endear yourself to fans more if you get a Harley Reid type and build from the ground up.
Well, hang on. Everyone now has said that North Melbourne should have lost last year to
I
Gold
agree.
Coast. So are they going to say it before this game and say North Melbourne should lose this game
I
to
don't
get the
think
bottom
they
pick?
could lose
Get
as
number
bad
one?
as Richmond could lose as bad if they wanted to go down that path. If you can make sense of that.
I'm trying to work out what you
can't.
said, but
And the issue is this year there's no Harley Reid. There could be 5 players that could go number 1. So I don't think pick 1 or pick 2 will matter as much. So no, I think North Melbourne will win this game. game.
Don't lose sight of the fact, Days, they have only got 2 wins, North Melbourne. It's not as if they've turned the corner.
Could it be a 0-0 draw?
Richmond aren't the worst either. They showed a
No,
bit
they're
last
not,
week against
but,
Collingwood too.
I just think pick
They
one.
nearly
Just
are.
pick one.
It's on fire today. Geelong versus Adelaide, Daisy.
I am, for whatever weird reason, I'm going down the Adelaide Park here. They were horrible against the Hawks. We know that. The fortnight before that was okay. I'm still not believing Geelong have got their complete mojo back. So this week,
I like the...
Daisy Thomas is the Oracle.
That's good bravery.
Adelaide will beat Geelong in Geelong.
Wow.
I nearly had a nap then.
I'll take then the Cats as my certainty. Off the back of that, Cats are my certainty.
Yeah, Cats for me, easily.
All right, Pendles 400, Collingwood versus Carlton versus Collingwood. We should say it's Carlton's home game, Joey.
Yes.
Is it?
Is it?
No, I think it's Collingwood's.
Oh, it's Collingwood.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
home game.
Correct. Yeah, Pendles wouldn't have let Carlton take any of the gate.
Because I love the Pies so much, I'm tipping them here. They will lift for Pendles 400th. I think they will win. They're my outsider, Collingwood, to get the job done.
Carlton for me.
I've gone down the Collingwood route as well.
The who?
The Collingwood. I know I said both of them. And if any man can, it's me. Collingwood, I think, for the same reasons as Joseph. Well done to
doing it for
Pendles.
Pendles.
again.
Right
Yeah.
on, Pendles, yes.
Will you be there,
Congratulations.
Days?
I will be there.
Yep.
Working, not drinking.
Disappointing?
Disappointing. Port Adelaide.
We've lost our
We've
way
lost
again.
it. Again,
We did last time. Last week.
Port Adelaide versus Sydney, no,
Can drink while you're watching. If you want.
AWS.
Yeah.
Is that a
Again, this is one of those ones, because it's Wednesday, we have to have I'm going to say Sydney, but I reckon by the time my official tips go in, it could be Port. Sorry to give you no line of
You've been
authority on
competent
that.
in comments for doing this, Damo.
yeah,
That was horrible.
You've been competent in the comments for sitting on the
That was
fence.
horrible,
It's
Damo.
Wednesday.
It's getting earlier. Sydney for me, Joey.
Sydney.
Sydney.
Couldn't care for the
The
comments
winner
either,
is
Rebsy.
Sydney.
You're on one
never read
today.
I love it. The Giants versus Hawthorn. This is a huge game. If Hawthorn win, Collingwood will not be able to make finals.
There you go. GWS for me. Again, the Hawks have been good. Interesting that Tex Walker came out and said he hasn't felt pressure like that around the footy since Richmond when they were flying. That's a big tick.
Since the power stance days.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Maybe Tex is just slowing down.
Nobody's safe today. GWS.
Is that because he got
Whoa,
linked
Tex is
to...
like, whoa, everyone's so quick these days.
Tex got linked to Collingwood.
Yeah,
now
they-
Joey's potting him.
Has he been linked to Collingwood?
Anyway.
Yes.
GWS for me.
GWS.
Comment on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Last two games of the round. Essendon versus Fremantle.
Jesus, Poppers. I'm getting-
Okay, I'll step in seriously. Fremantle will come to the MCG and absolutely convince itself as much as the competition it's real, even though it's a lesser opponent, the way we're talking about Essendon, but they will, I think, relish this chance on this venue, on this day, against this club.
I'm tipping the
Dockers.
Bombers with zero expectation on them now because it looks like they've gassed the season. I think they can turn it around. I think they get a nice opportunity because it is against Freo coming across. So the Bombers in an upset for me to keep their finals hopes alive and to keep their fans out of my DMs.
I've got Damo on the Freo train. Just need to get Daisy Freo Dockers.
All right, finally, and we haven't really spoken about the Saints, who were unbelievable last week, Joey, but they take on Brisbane on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, they were unbelievable, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to beat the Brisbane Lions. Nah, yeah, too hard. They've won 5 of their last 8 St Kilda. And, and in that time was Brisbane at the Gabba. It was one of their losses, but I don't think they can beat them at Marvel, although they'll be competitive.
Same rationale for me tipping the Lions. They're in a nice vein of form here, as is St Kilda, but Brisbane's best trumps St Kilda's best.
Agree in full.
Well, enjoy Saturday night at
Thank you.
Pendles 400 working and not drinking. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. And, of course, you can catch every game live on Triple M, starting with the Bulldogs versus Melbourne at Marvel Stadium with Howie, Das, Brownie, Chief, and, of course, our man, Damian Barrett. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub.